Hey guys, Sean Zim, the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor, and Alexander showing he's my little co-pilot today, right? And we're always providing value. Guests that come on will share some tips and tricks and strategies that they use in their daily, and also really learning about what they do as far as the business, so we can help them, guys. If you're watching us live, don't forget hit and drop a comment #live on the replay #replay. If you have questions, don't forget, drop them in the comments. If you have emojis that you like to use, the pound, the thumbs up, the fire, the bomb, whatever, drop that every once in a while that you like what we're talking about, you dislike, what have you. Again, the questions, the engagement is great. Let me bring on a good friend of mine, Ron Maver. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Sean, how are you? Alexander, how you doing today, buddy?
I say, hey, he's teething like crazy, so he's got his little animal that he's able to crush those teeth out. But I appreciate you coming on today and dropping some value. Ron, I love to hear it from the guest's mouth as far as who are you and what do you do?
Hi, everybody. So once again, Sean, thanks for having me. My name is Ron Maver. I'm a real estate agent here on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. I work for the Prud'homme Team at Carolina Realty Group. And I'm originally from New Jersey, which is how we know each other. I made the move down here I just celebrated 3 years down here the other day. So that's what I do.
I want to get into it. I know we were going before we went live, some of the areas that we want to share. And again, it's real estate. And those that are watching, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, definitely give Ron a call. He's in an area that is prime for second homes, vacation homes, investment properties. Definitely reach out to him. All his information and reminder will be in the description. Check him out. But Ron, what were you involved in before you got into real estate? Because I know a lot of people were providing value and they're afraid of taking chances. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a huge guy in taking chances, and I wasn't always, but within the last 5 or 6 years, I've realized that life is short, and that I'd rather take my chances and live with the consequences of at least knowing that I took my chance, rather than just sit there and be scared for whatever reason. People get tied in by money, they get tied in being comfortable where they grew up and where they live. And I kind of blew all of that out of the water the last couple of years. So prior to being a real estate agent, I was a stagehand at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City for 20 years. A lot of hours, long hours. I always wondered, what would happen if I took the chance? Maybe not necessarily in real estate, but did something else. And not only in terms of work, but just terms of lifestyle, the hustle and bustle of the city. I was born and raised there. It's all I knew. Could I survive in a different environment? What would it be like getting away from home, like getting away from my comfort zone? I've never done it. I've never lived anywhere else other than, New Jersey, right outside of Manhattan. And just, what would that be like? What would it be like to take a chance? So talked it over with my wife, decided, we had vacationed in Hilton Head. As you mentioned, it's a hot spot for vacation. We've also seen it take a turn the last couple of years where we're getting a big influx of families. And I'll go into that a little bit about how the real estate market's changing on Hilton Head in the last couple of years. But to make a long story short, we talked it over as a family and decided to take the ultimate chance. So I quit my job. Didn't have much of a plan. We moved down here. We had our savings and enough to get us by for a couple of months. So just came down to Hilton Head based off of spending time here as a vacation and really loving the island and falling in love with it, falling in love with the lifestyle it's exactly where we want to be in terms of physically, spiritually, mentally, the things it offered, the access to the water, just a real low key vibe. So we took our chances. We came down here. I kind of fell into real estate by happenstance. To make a long story short, I went to real estate school and came out of it on the advice of my wife, like, hey, why don't you go, you don't know what you want to do. I knew there were certain parameters that I wanted that I never had before. For example, I always worked at the Opera House since I started there right after college when I was 22. And then I made this move at 43. So it's all I knew as an adult. It's the only job, like quote unquote, real job I've ever had. So there was things I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be stuck inside all day. I knew that if I wanted to take time off, I didn't want to have to go and ask somebody, hey, can I take time off? Can I do this? I knew I wanted to do things on my own terms for once. So Danielle, my wife, recommended real estate school. So I went there, really fell in love with the process of helping people and all that, and started interviewing around here on the island at different brokerages. Struck up a conversation with first Jerry Prud'homme, who is so the company is now owned by Dan Prud'homme, who is Jerry's son, but struck up a conversation with Jerry on an interview, and then went back a second time to meet Dan. Dan had heard through the grapevine, or I guess I may have even mentioned to Jerry that I'm, in addition to being a real estate agent, I'm also an ultrarunner, which factors in a lot to these decisions and these decisions to make changes. It wasn't just a job change. It was a whole mental, physical change, which I can get into. But, I started talking to Dan for a while, and he had heard that I was running 100-mile races, and he's intrigued by people like that. We had a lot of the same interest in terms of podcasts and inspirations and people that we follow. So we just really hit it off. And Dan, said to me, listen, if you're willing to run 100 miles, I know you can work hard. I'll show you the real estate business. And that's kind of how I landed where I am. Everything systematically just worked out in a certain order.
Taking chances. It all started with that, and having the support system as well. Having your wife, Danielle, involved in the decision-making, your kids, knowing that, yeah, you're rolling the dice, but you also, like, you had savings, you had some time to get your feet wet. You have the drive, and I love the ultra. I don't know how you do it either. These ultra marathons, these 100-milers. But as they said, it was Dan, right? He saw that if you have the mindset to be able to do something as severe as that, damn, what would you do as far as being as consistent in real estate? So definitely goes hand in hand. Talk about that. I like to work out. I like to be healthy. I like to be active. I do a lot of high intensity interval training. I don't want to do, my knees are a little issues with running over the course of being a baseball player, basketball player when I was younger. But you're doing stuff, not just marathon stuff. You're doing stuff that's just, people are like, what? And it's overnight, so many things. Please talk about this, man.
Yeah. So, it's something as I mentioned before, when I really embrace change, I embrace change on every level. So it's not something I was always into. Within the last 5 or 6 years, I've undergone quite a bit of change in terms of outlook on life and how I want to spend the time that I have here. And a big part of that was running. So I started, I was out of shape. At one point, I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. And I started walking, and I was doing like a walk, run. And the best way I could describe it is, if you look back, you always hear people talk about the glory days in life and how they were, the high school conquest and running or just sports activities, and how they felt like on the top of the game. And I felt that when I started running again, like I got that it factor back.
Yep.
And I caught the bug. And not only that, it just gave me time to think and process different problems that happen in life. And it was kind of my time. And that's all it was. So started off innocently enough, just, logging a couple of miles here and there if I could, and then slowly built up. And eventually I signed up. I'd read books about guys who had accomplished, and I should say guys and girls that had accomplished these great feats of running and these super athletes, and you read about them. And interestingly enough, they all start with overcoming some type of issue, whether it be, it's the one place that they found peace, whether there be mental problems, substance abuse problems, whatever it is. A lot of stories in that, whether they lost a loved one, seems like a lot of those stories are started and based in pain. And they found this to be a solution of the pain. And I'm no different. I had my own issues with anxiety, and I found a peace out there that I had never found out, before. So I signed up for this 50-mile race, which I really had no business doing at the time. I was probably in marathon shape, not 50-mile shape, but I signed up for it maybe 4 or 5 months out, and I just became like a man possessed. That was it. I was completely driven. I was still working like 14, 15-hour days. I was going for runs before work. I still do this to this day. I set my clothes out the night before. I roll out of bed. I don't even think about it. I just go. And for me, Like I've learned so much. I mean, the physical thing is one thing, but I've learned so much about myself and so much about life out there in those hard races. And, I don't think, real estate's a tough business. It's tough, especially in the beginning. You have to grind away and you have to deal with a lot of rejection in the beginning and just keep moving forward no matter what. Like just keep plowing forward. And, they say that an ultra marathon, particularly a 100-miler, they call it life in a day, because in that 24-hour period, which is, you could get a lot done in 24 hours. I remember Jesse Itzler saying that after his 100, you can get a lot done. So you go through everything. You go through highs, you go through lows, you go through doubting yourself. You're questioning why you're doing this. I don't have to be out here. Why am I out here? And so many emotions and ups and downs, and the ability to be as low as you can get and still push forward when everything in your body says don't just stop. Everything except for really your I'd like to say your mind, but more importantly your heart says don't stop. And you'll find that if you push through that real low point, eventually you start coming out of it and you get higher and higher. It's the same thing in life. Like you really, your lessons are learned in the low points. That's when you really thrive, and that's when you really flourish. So, having done it through races, I know that I can do it in life, that you just have to keep moving. There's a saying, don't die in the chair. Yep. And what that means is if, you come into an aid station or a break, if you sit down, like if you're going to time out on a race or you're going to quit on a race, don't quit when you're in the chair, because you're not moving. You have no momentum. Quit or time out when you're moving. Don't do it when you're in the chair. You're going to regret it.
No, well said, man. I agree. The mindset, your mental health. Yeah, you go through those ups and downs, and going and using, that's training, that you're actually training for your real estate, for your business, being an entrepreneur, pushing through the rejection, the times that you want to give up, but you keep moving forward, literally. And I appreciate hearing about this. I love seeing your journey. You've fallen in love with the process. And it's a lot of people who have to understand it's the process. Not all I know you got medals, you get trophies and things like that. It's not about that. It's not about the accolades. It's about all that struggle that you go through, and then you complete something. And that's what pushes you, and it keeps you going, keeps you motivated, inspired to continue moving on and getting others involved too. So I definitely appreciate hearing that. I know you are heavily into that, and I know have you done one recently?
So last one I did was October, which was the Delirium. It was a 24-hour race. I think I have to look. I got just over 100 miles in that. So that was the last one I did. I was scheduled to. I actually, funny enough, I made a reel about this morning, about the ability to keep moving forward and keep pushing through on Instagram. I have not had a particularly strong 2023, at least the first half of it. I kind of been nagged by freak injuries, nagging little things. I had COVID, which everybody had, but for some reason it ended up taking me about nine weeks to get over it altogether, which is I figured arrogantly enough that if the shape I was in, I should be fine. But I had a hard time with that. And it's been a real stop and go year. I'm finally feeling 100% the last 6 weeks or so. So the next one I have is scheduled for late September. And that's the Grindstone 100 in Shenandoah Valley up in Virginia. So I'm hoping that'll kickstart to where I can go, 3 or 4 races in the next 6 months after that.
Yeah, just get that ball going again. And like, you have to listen to your body. Like you said, you had COVID. It takes a toll on certain people, different ways. So listening to your body, taking the time off, not pushing through it. So if you were doing these type of events, you might be ending up in the hospital because of the struggle you would have gone through. So it's good and smart to do that. Yeah,
although I'm guilty of it. I don't really take time off through that whole process. I've still been running every day. I just am not, I think ideally I would probably like to be at about 1,600 miles for the year this year. And I'm at about, I think it might be right around 11. I'm right around 1,100. So I'm about 500 miles off my pace. So I'm still putting in the work. I'm still getting things done. I'm not getting them done to the level that I feel
Right. And you'll get
is
back
what I
to it.
want.
You'll
Yeah.
definitely get back to that. I know you. It definitely will happen. I wanna I wanna end on something that you it's special. I want you to end on talking about the real estate market down by you and also some of the things you're doing after every closing.
Yeah. So the real estate market in Hilton Head is really a unique market. And we serve both Hilton Head, I should say, well, Hilton Head, Bluffton, and Beaufort. Uh, Bluffton's right over the bridge off of Hilton Head, and then Beaufort is a little past that. The Hilton Head market in particular is unique in the fact that many times it's a luxury purchase. It's a vacation purchase. It's a second home. It's an investment property. So you're not dealing with a lot of people coming in saying, "Hey, I have to move, and I need to move this. I need to move next week. Like, find me a house in the next 3 days." That does happen. Obviously, we have, especially in the last 3 years, a lot of families moving into the area for obviously the same reasons I did: the weather, the ability to be outside year round. But our business is really based on relationships and forming long-term relationships. And you may not be ready to buy today, and that's fine. You may not be ready to buy in a month, that's fine. But in 6 months' time, when you're ready, I'm going to know exactly what you're looking for. I'm going to know what you want, and I'm going to find it for you. So it's unique in that sense. There's a few things that really separate Hilton Head from a lot of places in the country. So we don't have skyscrapers. We don't have any buildings really over 4 stories tall. In addition to that, we're not overdeveloped. We'll never be overdeveloped. So the island allows for short-term rentals, investment properties, only on certain parts of the island. Like the area where I live in does not allow for short-term rentals. So it's unique in that way that we're not overly crowded. And another thing that the town does is, so every real estate purchase, there's a 0.25% sales tax on the purchase of the home. And what the town does is they take that money, they collect it, and they save it. So when any available land becomes, or any land becomes available, the town itself purchases that land. So it's not developed and may turn it into a green space.
That's awesome.
Or, yeah, really, really, when Charles Fraser developed this island, our motto is we work around nature. Nature doesn't work around us. So in terms of, we don't cut down every tree. You'll see a house and then, nature completely built around it because that's the way it was meant to be. And, we're unique in the sense of the amount of colors we allow our homes to be. Everything blends in. Even our businesses blend in. If you're driving down the main street, you kind of have a hard time. You have to figure out where things are because there's no neon signs allowed. We don't have a lot of street lights. It's a totally unique environment that we really fell in love with. But so it's a really, really cool market, and it's been a strong market over the last 3 years. It continues to be a strong market. We continue to have low inventory. People want to move down here, so all those things make it unique. I think it doesn't follow the trends of a national market. It's kind of its own bubble. So it's really fun to work in and a unique environment. But as you were saying, so for me personally, one of the deals of coming down here, my kids were 13 and 9 when we moved. So one of the conditions was that we had to get a dog. And we agreed that we would rescue a dog. So we rescued a dog from a organization here called Lovable Paws. And we got our dog Bobby from there. And I guess at the time, from what we understand, he was homeless for maybe 6 months to a year. He was pretty beat up. He was covered in mange. He had no hair. And unique combination of a dog. He's a Yorkie and pit bull. So he kind of looks like a terrier. So he's a unique dog. But anyway, we went up there. We met Steve, who's the director of Lovable Paws, when we got Bob, and we just fell in love with him. Me in particular, like, he's my buddy. I was not. It was done for the kids. I've had dogs my whole life, but I figured it just adds to the madness. But that's my pal. Like, we fell in love with him. So I developed a working relationship with Steve. And what I do is to give back to Lovable Paws because of what Bob's given us in terms of joy and like the happiness in our family. I donate $250 to Lovable Paws for every real estate transaction I'm involved in. So that's been a great way to one of the cool things about real estate is the ability to get to meet and interact with so many people And in 3 short years down here, I've completely ingrained myself into the community, and the community has welcomed me with open arms. So it's been a really cool experience, and I love that organization. It's a no-kill shelter. They'll take any dog in. Steve just purchased a farm out in the outer parts of South Carolina, just so the dogs have bigger rooms to roam. And he's just such a good guy, and they do great work up there. So I'm just happy to be involved with them.
That's awesome, man. We're gonna definitely have the link in the description for everyone to check that out, support, and if they're looking to get a dog, definitely check them out. And Ron, all your information is going to be in that description. How do they get in contact? Do you want to give them your cell phone number?
Yeah, sure. As you said, everything will be in there. If you need to contact me, you can contact me on my cell phone. It's 201-759-8136. I kept the Jersey number just because so many people have it. But again, if you're looking for real estate here in Hilton Head, Bluffton, Beaufort area, I'd be more than happy to help you. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. It's a great market. It's a great place to live. So if you're looking to relocate, I highly recommend it.
No, I appreciate you spending some time with us today. Dropped some great value. I know there's going to be some opportunities you're going to gain from this. Guys, please, please, please don't forget to share this. Subscribe to this channel, and also check out a couple of the playlists that will pop up at the end here. Ron, I thank you again, and everyone else. We hope that you have an awesome rest of your day.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Stick with me 1 second, Ron.